is that Eratos is this supposed computer algorithm or computer program that is utilized by some corporations to monitor or procure their websites. The idea is this program can be used to remove copyright infringing content from websites, or it can be used as some sort of mass surveillance thing. Another thing Eratos supposedly does
is everyone in this party listening to that video?
Whatever website it's trying to procure or monitor. This concept of this Eratos...
Everyone in this party listening to that video.
We are.
Oh, the video?
We are.
The video that I'm watching?
Some people on 4chan were recalling
This
how...
is the video I'm watching.
To you. Listen to that.
Rumors about this supposed...
Yeah, I know, we're listening.
A YouTube channel by the name of Kronos for Life for a while was making videos where he would seemingly purposely try to bait the Eratos computer program into flagging his videos. All these things kind of came together to create this idea of this Eratos computer algorithm or computer program. It's a pretty convoluted situation, but there's been a little bit of a development within the Eratos story. There's this band called the KFC Murder Chicks, and people were starting to find some connections between this band and Eratos. And then in came this YouTube channel called Toxicologist. He's got around 5,000 subscribers as of right now. He seems pretty reliable. In one of his videos, he gets into contact with someone who is apparently the leader of the KFC Murder Chicks, and he asks him a couple questions relating to the Eratos situation. And the leader of the KFC Murder Chicks guy says that Eratos and everything surrounding it is kind of an ARG that he came up with. And sure, there's a possibility that this video is fake, or the person he's talking to isn't actually the leader of the KFC Murder Chicks, but I don't really know what these people would gain from lying about this kind of thing, except for maybe some attention. It seems pretty legit to me, but who knows, maybe this is just part of the game Eratos is trying to play. Stuxnet. Stuxnet is a computer virus that was likely created by the US and Israeli government. The computer virus was targeted at Iranian nuclear facilities. Specifically, this virus targeted centrifuges at an Iranian nuclear enrichment lab and caused these centrifuges to spin out of control and tear themselves apart. This computer worm is often credited as being really potent and played a large role in hindering Iran's nuclear program. John Cena, Jonathan Stamos, Johnny Test, Johnny Bravo, Johnny Upgrade, 973.
Johnny Bravo.
973. If you rearrange the letters, it's 973 the Human. 973 the Human 973 is a website that is pretty mysterious. It is an incredibly sprawling website with thousands of different pages and links to explore. The website is primarily made up of really cryptic text and religious imagery. The website also seems to have a pretty big emphasis on math and numerics, with there being a lot of mathematical puzzles. What's really interesting about this website is it also has a forum section where users of this website will congregate and talk to one another. Some people, of course, think that this website is just an art project, but there are other ideas as to what this website is. People on the forum have explained that this website is a reflection of their beliefs being that God is somehow related to math and numerics. The website overall, though, is still very mysterious, and it does not seem like there is a definitive answer out there that explains the whole website. I love you. This entry is referring to a computer worm that infected an estimated 10 million Windows computers and caused over $20 billion in damages in the early 2000s. This computer worm spread as an email that had the subject line, I love you, and the email would ask you to download a file off of it that was supposedly a love letter. When the file was downloaded, it looked just like a text file, but upon opening the file, it would run a script on your computer that would do various malicious things. It would overwrite all sorts of files on your computer, like audio files, text files, it would steal passwords, and it would go into the user's email client and basically duplicate and send the I love you email to everyone in the contact list, leading this computer worm to spread pretty exponentially. The computer worm was developed by two Filipino programmers, Renel Ramones and Onel de Guzman, and at one point they were arrested by the Filipino government, but at the time in the Philippines there were no laws that explicitly said that making malware was illegal, so programmers pretty much just got off scot-free. New Material Want. New Material Want is a website that uses a bot to grab random free-to-use 3D models from databases online and overlays them on top of each other to create these weird kind of 3D models you can just kind of look at. The website is just kind of an art installation by internet artists Johan Heemskirk and Dirk Paceman's. Together, Johan Heemskirk and Dirk Paceman's make up this art collective known as Jody, which you will hear about later in the iceberg. Actually, while we're at it, this entry right here, Jody, is, I think, just referring to these two. They're responsible for quite a few weird, artsy kind of websites. Liao. I can't be too confident what this is referring to because Liao is literally just lion in Portuguese, but my best guess is that it was referring to the mascot of an anti-drug education campaign in Brazil known as Proerd. The mascot of this Brazilian anti-drug campaign is known as Liao de Proerd, or the Lion of Proerd, and he's often used by Proerd to spread anti-drug sentiments and educate people about how drugs are dangerous and whatnot. Eventually, a lot of Brazilian people, though, started making memes out of this lion guy. I don't really think it goes really anywhere beyond that. Brazil has had its fair share of drug problems over the years, and so people start memeing on the anti-drug mascot guy. Enrix. Enrix is referring to a pretty mysterious website that described a supposed deadly genetic disease known as Enrix. The entire website was written in Thai and this weird, unintelligible, distorted text. The website also featured this weird picture of this doctor. If you click on her, the website becomes more distorted and crazy. For a long time, no one really knew what was going on with the website, but in 2018, a game designer by the name of Paul Hubens basically came out and said that he created the Enrix website as an ARG in his spare time. Green pill. So I understand most of you watching this probably already understand this already, but I should establish this first just in case. You know how in the Matrix, Morpheus offers Neo the red pill or the blue pill, and if you take the red pill, you'll be able to understand the truth or the reality of everything and escape the Matrix. Well, sometimes some right-wing people on the internet like to describe themselves as red-pilled because, you know, they understand the true nature of the government, social constructs and stuff like that. So this leads us to the term green-pilled, which kind of means like red-pilled but more extreme, maybe. Someone who's called green-pilled means that they believe in shadow governments and the Illuminati, believes in a lot of conspiracy theories. Green-pilled isn't really a term.
Sorry, Mythic, I had to do that really quickly.
Use, though. Whereas with the term red-pilled, you'll sometimes find people out there who are genuinely using it. The term green-pilled is pretty much always a kind of ironic joke. It mainly comes from this webcomic character called Green Pill, who's supposed to represent fringe conspiracy theorists. Temple OS. Temple OS is a biblically themed operating system. The operating system was developed by a man by the name of Terry. After experiencing a self-described revelation, he proclaimed that God had told him to develop an operating system that would act as God's third temple. The operating system is a mess, and it's very archaic, but also pretty robust and functional given the circumstances. Terry Davis. During the development of this operating system, Terry Davis was on a steep decline in his mental health, and it can be seen in his videos and posts he would make explaining an update.
That's very interesting.
He basically believed that he was being stalked by the
US
government for some reason, and he was also like really racist. 112 dirtbag. I already covered this one in my YouTube iceberg, so I'm just gonna get through this one really quick. Basically, this woman by the name of Mara Murray just completely went missing after she crashed her car around 112 in New Hampshire. And on the 8-year anniversary of her disappearance, a YouTube channel by the name of where it's just this old guy sitting in front of the camera laughing that led people to think that Murmuray in the video was trying to mock Murmuray's family. Eventually, an investigation was done into this 112 dirtbag guy who uploaded the video, and it turned out that he was just some mentally unstable dude who was just trying to insert himself into the situation because he wanted attention. He was crazy, and he really had nothing to do with the disappearance of Murmuray. Yume Nikki. Yume Nikki is an indie game that was released in 2004. Play as this silent protagonist by the name of Maritsuki, and you explore this weird, surreal dream world of hers. The game doesn't really have much of a clear objective beyond just wandering around the sprawling dream world. Many people like to speculate and interpret what the game is really about, but really due to the vague and surreal nature of the game, no one's really right or wrong about it. The game has garnered a small but cult following, with many fans being drawn to the mysterious and cryptic nature of the game. Max Headroom. Max Headroom is a fictional character created by director Rocky Morton, and his whole thing is that he's supposed to be the world's first computer-generated TV personality. There's a Max Headroom movie, there's a Max Headroom television series. He was even part of a Coca-Cola advertisement campaign. The reason I think this is on the iceberg is that Max Headroom instant. A broadcast signal from 2 television stations in Chicago were hijacked, and the broadcasts were interrupted by a guy wearing a Max Headroom mask. During the hijack, the guy wearing the Max Headroom mask started rambling off nonsense, talking about Max Headroom's endorsement of Coca-Cola, and eventually during one of the hijacks, another guy comes on camera, and the dude with the Max Headroom mask just starts spanking him on the butt with a fly swatter. I can't show it to you because the dude butt just hanging out, but I think you get the idea that it was just some random nonsensical type crap. The culprits behind this hijacking and the person in the max headroom mask were never caught, and this situation happened over 30 years ago, so they likely never will be caught. John Teeter. Alright, so in 2000, on multiple message boards online, a person by the username John IBM 5100 computer. Apparently, he needed this old IBM 5100 computer to debug some legacy computer programs in 2036. The only computer that had the right code, the right assets to do this is this old IBM computer. This John Teeter person made many predictions about the future, such as there being a civil war in the United States in 2004 that would lead the United States to split into 5 individual factions, with the new capital being in Omaha, Nebraska. He predicted that in 2015 there would be World War III, where the United States and Russia would trade nukes with each other and kill over billions of people. He also predicted that there would be a computer bug similar to the Y2K that would happen in 2038, where basically all computers that run in 32-bit would just fail, and it would just leave humanity in disarray. At one point, people asked him to show pictures of his time machine, and he actually did, and apparently this time machine was installed on the back of a Chevrolet convertible, so a little bit on the nose. In March 2001, John Teeter ended his posts after he claimed he was returning to the future, and as you can see, many of his predictions turned out to be pretty off. In 2004, the United States did not go through a civil war, and 2015 came and went, and the world didn't go into all-out nuclear war, so this John Teeter thing garnered quite a bit of attention at the time. And although no one's ever been specifically outed as John Teeter, many people speculate that an entertainment lawyer by the name of Larry Harper behind John Teeter, as it was discovered that he was the CEO of something called the John Teeter Foundation, a for-profit group that basically sought profit off of John Teeter by selling merchandise and stuff like that. LSD Dream Emulator. LSD Dream Emulator is a Japanese PlayStation game conceived by Japanese artist Isamu Sato. LSD Dream Emulator is an interesting game. Basically what you do is you walk around and explore these weird, trippy, surreal environments with really no objective or explanation for what's going on. If you bump into any object in the game, you'll be teleported to another random location, or sometimes it'll give you access to these weird random videos you can watch. After each one of these dreams, where you explore these environments, you take it back to the dream chart thing, and the dream chart will be filled out based on what you did in your dream, but no one on the internet really seems to even know how this dream chart works. No one knows why some squares will be filled out if you do some things, and why some other squares will be filled out if you do other things. In fact, even the LSD Dream Emulator fan wiki says, quote, many websites even state that the English public have yet to be able to figure out exactly how the game works. Heartbeat in the brain. Okay. The Brain is a film where a, at the time, 27-year-old woman by the name of Amanda Fielding drills a hole in her forehead with a dentist's screw. Apparently, this Amanda Fielding woman drilled a hole in her forehead that would allow oxygen to flow through her brain better and allow her to achieve a higher state of being or a higher state of consciousness or something. After being unable to find a doctor to perform the procedure on her, she just went ahead and did the procedure on herself and filmed it. The film was called Heartbeat in the Brain, and it was originally screened in 1978 at an art gallery in Japan. And afterwards, the film just kind of disappeared. Short bits of the film were featured in a documentary called Hole in the Head, which is a documentary about trepidation, and these eventually did surface online. But the film in its entirety was thought to be completely lost, until it was apparently found and screened at the Institute of Contemporary Arts in London in 2011. Amanda Fielding, the woman who drilled a hole in her head, is, as far as I can tell, still alive today. In fact, she's the founder of a group called the Berkeley Foundation. The Berkeley Foundation is a charitable trust that does research into neuroscience and the effects of psychoactive substances on the brain. And this group has actually done some research with some pretty high-profile groups, like King's College London and Johns Hopkins University in the U.S. I don't know, I just find it weird that someone who literally drilled a hole in their head with a dentist drill is also mentally stable enough to create a functioning and somewhat respected research group. The Death of Pablo. So Kanye West has an album called The Life of Pablo, basically a group called the Pablo Collective that was formed on the 14th. In some ways,
I just got kicked off.
Life of
Yeah.
Pablo album. For example, example, in Kanye West's The Life of Pablo album, there's two songs called Father Stretch My Hands Part 1 and Part 2, but in the Death of Pablo remix of this album, there's a song called Father Stretch My Hands Part 3. Beyond this, overall the music itself is kind of all over the place. It has a very experimental sound. It sometimes has this weird kind of like industrial sound to it. Interviews with Kanye, samples of his speech at concerts, a woke